Pattaya City, dubbed by many as the Sin City of Thailand.
There are 24-hour clubs where the party never ends, 7 days a week.
In the early morning hours of February 24, 2007, Russian tourists Tatiana and Liubov exit a club near their hotel. They decide to stay up and watch the sunrise together at the nearby Jomthian beach.
But now they've caught the attention of someone lurking in the shadows, and he's not friendly.
One pivotal hour will require police to dive into their investigation if they're to have any hope of discovering the truth. When any murder takes place, it is a tragedy, no matter who, where, or when. When a double homicide occurs, the tragedy compounds, leaving everyday people wondering, why? In this case, two young women are struck down in the prime of their lives while on a beach vacation. The question remains, what motivated someone to do such a thing? On March 3, 2007, officers are led to a pond outside an apartment by an informant who claims this is where he disposed of the gun used in the shooting. The eyes of the world are watching this investigation. Will investigators find what they're looking for, or come up empty-handed? A city that thrives on tourism needs people to believe that they'll be safe there. In many cases, its economy can be dependent on this implicit promise. Because of this fact, when something happens to a tourist, it's in the city's best interest to find answers that point away from the city itself. Anushit Lumlurt is only in his early 20s and already has a rap sheet of petty crimes. The disturbing thing is these crimes seem to be escalating in a bad direction. Most recently, he is freed on bail, awaiting trial on charges for robbing 2 Korean tourists. Are these the actions of a stone-cold killer? Or was the murder of these young women an attempted robbery on an easy mark that slips off the rails? But there are reasons to suspect his confession could be a lie, and finding the gun may be their only way to prove one way or the other.
The city of Pattaya and its economy are largely driven by tourism, so there's no margin for error here. Any lingering doubts about the safety of the city or the competence of the police could damage the tourism industry.
What was once known as a quiet fishing village has in recent decades seen a boom in tourism, boasting a number of high-end resort hotels, high-rise condos, and shopping malls. There are a number of historic sites and holy places that pay homage to Thailand's rich traditions, such as the Sanctuary of Truth, a wooden temple-castle hybrid, ordained with carvings from Thai, Hindu-Buddhist, Chinese, and Khmer influences. For nature lovers, there's the Nong Nooch Botanical Gardens, which covers 2.4 square kilometers and are adorned with award-winning designs. Investigators will have to wade into the murky waters of the river. They know that finding the murder weapon will not be easy. Silt clouds the water, and the river bottom is muddy.
There's plenty for families to explore during the day, but once the sun sets, the city really comes alive.
The city is well known for its thousands of cabarets, bars, and clubs that are open all night. It draws tourists in high numbers who are looking for unforgettable parties that last until morning.
This area has become known for its nightlife. There's sex tourism, which attracts a lot of people, and it almost has like its own little red light district.
The first step to any search is the same as solving a crime as a whole. It's about taking in the scene from a distance before moving in and getting the details. Details like finding a murder weapon or discovering why the victims were in town in the first place. However, not everyone visiting Pattaya does so for the sex tourism. Friends Tatiana and Liubov Sirkova are here as one of the stops on a vacation package they've purchased back home. Hailing from the Siberian city of Kemerovo, the two women are excited to escape the cold Russian winter for the tropical beaches of Thailand. The first stop on their tour is the city of Ayutthaya, just north of Bangkok.
Tatiana and Liubov have rented motorcycles. They spend 3 days touring the ruins and temples before heading to Pattaya to enjoy the city's nightlife.
Two women arrive in Pattaya on February 16, 2007.
There are 24-hour clubs where the party never ends, 7 days a week.
Here, it feels like they're a million miles from the cold of a Siberian winter. The tropical air is warm, and the city is alive. They go out clubbing, in search of the best party.
They're both very attractive. Because there's a lot of men in the area, they end up attracting some Russian men who frequent the area quite regularly. This isn't uncommon. It's quite a normal occurrence for that to happen at this particular area, so they're enjoying themselves with these Russian guys.
The endless nightlife, the parties, the drinks. It's also thrilling for two women from such a small industrial town. During the days, the two friends kick back, relax, and enjoy the heat.
They've done a lot of sightseeing and enjoyed some rest and relaxation. So now they're ready to really enjoy Pattaya's nightlife.
On February 23rd, they go to a club near their hotel. It seems wherever they go, they draw attention. But not all of it is welcome.
No matter where they are, these areas are dangerous for young women. Men are often there for sex, and they become pushy and sometimes aggressive in trying to find it.
In the early morning hours of February 24th, 2007, Tatiana and Liubov have had enough of the attention, the drinks and the advances from men at the club. They decide to head in the direction of their hotel.
They're not quite ready to call it a night, so along the way they pick up some cigarettes and a bottle of alcohol to enjoy on the beach.
They set up camp on the beach and share a nightcap as they look up at the stars, chatting about their adventures so far and looking forward to the days to come as they await the sunrise. Eventually they begin to tire, their conversation reduced to intermittent comments. Until yawning, they both sit quietly. It shouldn't be much longer now.
They've turned a lot of heads during the week they spent in Pattaya, but now they've caught the attention of someone lurking in the shadows, and he's not friendly.
This would look like an easy mark. They appear to be asleep. Their valuables are laying on the table, out in the open, free for anyone to take.
The man approaches quietly, careful not to alert them. And though they're very nearly out cold, instinctively Tatiana jolts awake.
She seems to sense that something is wrong. She turns around and there's a man standing behind her.
Liubov senses him too and turns to look. The women scream as the intruder pulls a gun. This is the weapon police are looking for, a Chinese-made 9mm pistol. It's imperative to their investigation that they find it and link it back to the killer.
Each gun is unique. It tells a story, especially once it's fired a bullet. The ballistics can be traced through the bullet, through the markings on the shell. It also can tell you something about the owner, who bought the gun. There could be fingerprints or gunfire residue on his clothing or hands. These are all things that have to be checked ASAP and are done usually through forensics or by some witnesses.
There's evidence that this gunman might have ties to organized crime, and finding the murder weapon will help prove that theory.
But for now, the gunman acts alone. There's nowhere for the women to run. They're caught in a hail of bullets. Their vacation in paradise cut short just as the sun rises. In the last few decades, Pattaya City has seen a boom in tourism. With its white sandy beaches, 5-star resorts, and immaculate golf courses, it's easy to see why. But those aren't the only reasons. Pattaya is dubbed by many as the Sin City of Thailand. It's a hedonistic paradise catering to all tastes, where prostitution is illegal, but law enforcement generally looks the other way. Russian friends Tatiana and Liubov save up to enjoy the beaches, sights, and endless nightlife. But their dream vacation becomes a nightmare when they become the target of a gunman. On March 3, 2007, officers begin their search of the pond, where an informant claims to have tossed a handgun used to kill Tatiana and Liubov. But the pond is large and the water is murky, with plant life and garbage. The clock is ticking, and investigators are desperate to recover the murder weapon. So far, they're coming up empty-handed. 1 week earlier, the two friends are sitting on the beach, awaiting a sunrise, when they're gunned down from behind.
They never really had a chance. As soon as they were aware of this individual standing behind one of them, he opened fire, killing both of them.
The whole thing happens very quickly. He shoots Tatiana through the back, killing her instantly. As Liubov turns to face him, he shoots her in the arm and then turns around and fires 3 more shots into her abdomen, killing her.
It would appear there are no witnesses in the area at the time. This individual obviously panicked for some reason, apparently, or just fled the scene. However, the gunshots would have attracted someone's attention.
In fact, someone has heard the gunshots. Nearby, a hotel security guard is alerted by the shooting and heads in the direction of the sound.
A security guard is hired to protect premises or people. Usually they don't have to interfere in gunfire. So for this security guard to proceed in the direction of those shots was very brave, but he also was very cautious in doing so.
As he arrives on the scene, he sees a man calmly walking away. The guard clocks the man as he gets on a red and black motorcycle and drives off. For all he knows, this man is a bystander, looking to flee the area at the sound of danger.
The guard surveys the area. He sees the two women slumped at the table and assumes they're sleeping, but that's not the case.
He calls out to the women, but when he doesn't get a response, he goes closer to investigate. And as he approaches, he notices the blood. He checks their vital signs, but he's too late. Both women are dead. He calls police to report a double homicide.
He does the absolute right thing. Once he recognizes it as a crime scene, he calls the police and protects it until their arrival. The worst thing you could do at a crime scene like this is rush into it, start moving things around. If it's obvious that these two people are deceased, once he has checked for signs of life, you don't move the bodies, you don't touch anything. Life is important. You check to see if they're alive, you would call for medical attention. He obviously has sufficient training to do that. So what he does is protect it as an active crime scene, which gives the police a little bit of a chance to get evidence.
As the investigators begin their search, they realize that their own efforts to find the murder weapon are stirring up more silt and mud, making their job more difficult. News in the area travels fast that there's been a shooting. Press arrive on the scene, hoping to get an exclusive shot. Since it's 2 foreign tourists who are killed, reporters are hopeful a story like this could make international news. It's just the kind of thing authorities are hoping to contain.
As these officers are the first responders on the scene, they check the victims to see if they display any vital signs. This only confirms what the security guard has already told them. Both women are dead. A quick survey of the scene shows that there's been no sign of a struggle. There's no weapon found in the immediate vicinity. The investigators' best hope is that the security guard saw something that can help lead to an arrest.
He recounts for police hearing the gunshots and running to the scene. The only other person he sees is a man walking to his motorbike, but unfortunately, he can't provide a detailed description of the man or the license plate. He does mention that the man walked calmly to his bike, which would be odd behavior for someone who's just shot and killed 2 women.
Investigators will have their hands full with this one. There's a large Russian presence in Pattaya and a high volume of Russian tourists. A double homicide will bring a lot of unwanted attention. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this investigation.
They're very thorough in documenting this crime scene. Obviously, it's an area where tourists are coming. They want to be sure they clean this up in a hurry. Security guard tells them no one has come through here. I secured it immediately. So it could have been a robbery gone bad, but there's something puzzling about this.
None of the women's valuables have been taken. Not their wallets or their jewelry. Their cell phones were left out on the table, and it would only take a second for the shooter to grab them. So why didn't he? What's the motive here? It's very puzzling.
Oftentimes, in what looks like a dead-end case or a cold case, it really behooves one to bring in another look, whether it's you doing it again or another detective or another officer. Sometimes 2 or 3 times you have someone review what you've done because you miss subtleties. You might miss something that could be done differently that you didn't consider. And the other thing that can happen too is there may be that personal knowledge in someone else's mind that they see in this that you don't have. It's called experience and teamwork. And when you put it all together, you can pick something up sometimes for what otherwise looks like a dead end. If you are a good detective, it eats you up when you don't solve a case. You really never forget it. And that's why they have experienced detectives go in as cold case operatives. You don't want to let that file go. You go back and you look and you look and you keep looking. And sometimes it leads to other jurisdictions. You have to be very open-minded in a dead-end file. You just don't look at this particular page. You have to look at this as a possible multi-state, multi-province, cross-country issue. Scan everything, find something that gives you a lead, and go from there. And also with DNA evidence in this time, you can find something that's 20 years old and still get DNA from it. So my philosophy in police work today is never give up.
The bodies of the victims have been sent for an autopsy. In the meantime, officers try to work out some theories of what might have happened here.
Investigators act out possible scenarios based on the evidence at hand.
The theory, if this is a robbery gone wrong, has some flaws. One, why would he shoot these people and leave their valuables on the table? Why would he turn and walk away if there's no witnesses to scare him? There's all of these things are starting to bug the police, so they have to look at it. Is it a robbery gone bad, or is it something more than that?
Like in many parts of Thailand, poverty, and especially child poverty, is a concern here in Pattaya. Approximately 7% of the children are underweight, and 16% are considered stunted. With the disparity between the wealthy tourists and the impoverished citizens, robbery in this area is not uncommon. But violent armed robbery is another story.
If the assailant is after the women's valuables, couldn't he have held them up at gunpoint? Why kill them and then leave without taking any of their valuables?
The security guard recalls the killer walking calmly away from the scene, which belies the theory that he got spooked, fired the gun, and ran off without grabbing their cell phones and valuables. Robbery is looking like less and less of a motive in this case.
The number, location, and trajectory of the gunshot wounds may provide some detail as to how the assault occurred. It appears that Tatiana was shot once, approached from behind and shot in the back, a fatal injury. Liubov, on the other hand, appears to have been shot from a forward-facing position. This means that the killer would have had to circle around quickly and fire 4 more shots until she was dead.
The questions remain. Why did someone do this? And where is the murder weapon? In the early morning hours of February 24th, 2007, Russian tourists Tatiana and Liubov are shot at close range while awaiting the sunrise on the beach. The pair of attractive tourists have caught the attention of several men. Police can't find anyone with motive to kill them. But as police begin looking at a possible connection to the Russian mob, this random double homicide starts to look more and more like a planned hit.
In the Russian world, organized crime is one of their big business. There's a lot of internal hits and assassinations, both internally and externally in the Russian community. They don't tolerate any misbehavior, much like the old Italian mafia. You mess around, you're dead. And that's probably because of the crime element in that community, the Russians being a predominant group. The police are probably looking at, A, is it a robbery, or B, was there something more involved? Or these prostitutes, were they murdered because they failed to pay up or failed to do the job? All these things have to be put on the table and sorted out. There's many things have to be looked at in these type of communities, these sin cities, so to speak.
One thing is certain. If investigators hope to get to the bottom of this double homicide, they're going to need to get their hands a little dirty.
While the idea of a professional hit may seem far-fetched at first, you have to consider that the two victims are Russian, and there's a strong Russian mob presence in Pattaya. They need to at least consider the possibility that the victims might have some connection to the mob.
The two friends save up to book a winter getaway. They both work as telephone operators, not a very high-paying job. Is it possible someone funded their trip here? Someone with nefarious motives?
Thailand is considered a fairly conservative place. Prostitution is illegal, except, as in some other countries, in certain zones or certain towns it's allowed. It's considered an attraction for tourists. It allows prostitution to thrive instead of being spread out through the entire country, so people gravitate to that area. The one dark side of this is usually there's bribery of police officers and officials to allow it to exist.
Though there are sometimes crackdowns, stricter enforcement around the sale of sex, these are usually just temporary measures triggered by moral outrage generated by news headlines. The reality is that sex tourism persists and is a big draw for the city.
A recent survey showed that approximately 8.5 million foreign tourists visited the city.
That's a lot of tourism for a city with a population of under 200,000. Tourism officials would love to rebrand its reputation and attract families who could enjoy its beachfront resorts, golf courses, and other attractions.
Could it be possible that the victims are involved in prostitution or other illegal activities with the Russian mob? And if so, what went wrong and who had them killed? It's a theory that investigators will need to explore, wading further into the underbelly of the city. Police continue their search for the murder weapon, but as the minutes tick by, the crowd they're attracting grows in size. They can't afford to be anything but absolutely thorough. Investigators need to paint a better picture of who the victims are. If their theory about organized crime holds any water, then there's a good chance the two women were involved in either sex or drug trafficking in some way.
Detectives search their hotel room and find a note inside Liubov's passport, but it's in Russian, and they will have to get it translated to see if it leads to anything in this case.
Officers also collect any and all CCTV footage from the hotel and surrounding area in the hopes of rebuilding the events of the night and possibly catching the killer on camera.
The investigation is well underway and detectives are following all the proper procedures when they're hit with something unexpected. A photographer has managed to get a shot of the crime scene and leaked it to the press. A Russian paper runs the photo along with a story about the crime and corruption in Pattaya. A Russian diplomat describes the situation as senseless and without explanation.
Even though this community is known as Sin City because of the obvious prostitution and other activities that go along with that, there is a need to clear it up because there's money where there's this type of activity. Tourists come, they spend dollars, businesses make money. So there's a tongue-in-cheek method of dealing with this. You have the police and the politicians wanting it solved, even though it's probably a high crime area and the likelihood is pretty low.
Police review all the CCTV footage they've collected from the areas the women visit the night of the murder. Investigators confirm their suspicions. They're looking for a single gunman.
The speed at which he approaches the women and opens fire seems deliberate. It seems as if he's very capable with the gun and knows what he's doing, and it's obviously intentional.
The autopsy confirms police suspicions. The women have died from gunshot wounds, and all the shots fired come from the same 9mm handgun. Ballistics confirms that the gunshots were quick and well-centered, as opposed to being sprayed about like someone would do if they were afraid and inexperienced with weapons.
Police pursue the organized crime theory, but are unable to find any witnesses to corroborate it.
This isn't entirely surprising. These women have not been in town very long, and in fact, they have ties to the mob. People may not be willing to come forward with evidence because of a fear of their own demise. The only way you could possibly get someone to come forward quickly would be to ask for anonymous tips. Those are not really the best way to get evidence, but at least you can get the person talking and maybe then convince them to come forward. Give them some confidence that you can protect them or that you need the information to pursue another angle. So there is a way to do it. It's just that you have to be aware that the Russian mob is prevalent throughout the world.
Investigators obtain a translation of the note found in Liubov's passport. It states, "Dear Mother, I love you so much. If you are reading this letter now, it means I will not come back home."
It's cryptic, but it could be a sign that the women think they're in danger.
So as a police officer, in this case, you would have two trains of thought going at the same time. One, if they're worried about being hit, why are they sitting at a table in the open with their goods laid out around them? On the other hand, they may feel perfectly safe being in a public place, sitting out in the open, that nothing bad's going to happen to them. So you're still caught between two stories. You still don't know what's happened, so it's important something has to break here.
Investigators go through the women's phones, but find no threatening texts or emails. Another dead end. With no witnesses to corroborate their theory, and increasingly cryptic clues, investigators are desperate for a break in the case. As the investigation into the double homicide of two Russian tourists progresses, a photo of the victims is leaked and makes international headlines. With the added political pressure to wrap up the case and reassure the public that Pattaya is safe, police double their efforts. They double-check every detail, hoping to find that one clue that may have been overlooked. The search for the murder weapon is still ongoing. Investigators grow frustrated with the lack of results and question their informant. Is he leading them on a wild goose chase? He assures them he's not. No one is leaving here until the gun is found. With a lack of leads in the investigation, detectives once again interview the security guard, who arrives first on the scene. He confirms that the motorbike he saw is red and black, and he identifies the make as well.
This is a pretty common bike in Thailand, so without the license plate, it's a pretty flimsy lead. But the mood in the room changes when he says that he could identify the man.
A sketch artist is brought in.
Police now have a sketch of the man's face. They have CCTV footage showing his height and build, but they still don't know who he is. So they issue a $3,000 reward for any information to come forward.
Police are hopeful now that someone will come forward and turn the gunman in. Shortly after the police sketch is released to the public, investigators receive an anonymous tip that a young man named Krišāņa matches the description.
Anonymous tips are not uncommon in any investigation. You get them all the time, no matter whether it's a speeding car or a murder. People call, they don't want to be known, hence the success of programs like Crime Stoppers across the globe. However, in this particular case, due to the nature of the people involved in the area, there's probably a great fear of retaliation, so they're very careful about the information they put forward.
Despite the informant's insistence that the gun is there, investigators continue to come up empty-handed. Krišāņa is apprehended and brought in for questioning.
He's a close match to the police sketch of the shooter. Once they pull his file, they see that he has a black and red motorbike, which is one described by the witnesses.
They also find out that he's had a haircut within the last week. This could be innocent, but maybe he's trying to hide his identity, knowing that a witness saw him leaving the site of the crime.
Given the evidence, they try to get a confession out of Krišāņa, but he's adamant he had nothing to do with the killings. Krišāņa's mother goes to police and begs them to hear his alibi. She claims that he and his friends were drinking about 1 kilometer from the crime scene, but he got home at approximately 2 a.m. that morning, hours before the murder occurred.
Additionally, she tells them that his motorbike was stolen by 4 thieves on January 19th, about a month before the murders. She reported this robbery to the police.
Police follow up on her claims and confirm that his bike had in fact been stolen and is still missing. It's unlikely that he's their suspect. As each hour passes and each lead fizzles out, police worry that the killer will escape their net. The search for the murder weapon has so far turned up no results. Police begin to grow desperate. Police finally get a call on March 2nd that sounds promising.
This informant actually identifies herself. She claims she is the girlfriend of Anuchet Lamlert, who came to her apartment and claims that he shot 2 Russians. She became concerned that this would come back on her if she protected him or didn't put the information out there, and decides to call the police with the information.
Police go to the address she provides in the Rasha district and find Lamlert in an apartment there. Police also find his motorcycle, one that fits the witness description exactly. Lamlert is arrested and brought in for questioning. Officers pull up Anuchet Lamlert's criminal record.
He's got quite a rap sheet. He's had several arrests in the area for stealing from tourists, taking money from them, etc. With his criminal history, you have the physical description, the police sketch, the witnesses' reports, and his girlfriend's testimony. The police think they have their guy.
After nearly 3/4 of an hour of scouring the pond, detectives may have found something at last. Officers go into the interrogation expecting resistance, but with the body of evidence they have against Lamlert, they're confident they can get him to talk.
It doesn't take them long. Lamlert can see the case against him, and he realizes his best chance is to confess and ask for leniency.
At last, police pull the 9mm handgun from the swamp. It's a moment of great relief. Officers have Lamlert's confession, but they're still not satisfied. Though he denies it, they believe that the killing is linked to organized crime. He claims that he only intended to rob the women, but got spooked when they saw his face and shot them dead.
The problem with Lamlert's claim doesn't match the facts. With the speed in which he attacked them, the disappearance very quickly, the police still believe this could have been a premeditated murder.
Lamlert's criminal history shows that he's stolen from dozens of tourists over the years without a single violent incident. So why resort to violence now? Did someone pay him to kill these women?
Police receive another anonymous tip that one of the women had an affair with a Russian businessman, and that his wife, worried about losing her husband, paid to have the women killed.
It's an interesting story, but as police investigate this claim, they find it as absolutely not true that Lambert was part of this.
Given how fast, effective, and fatal Lambert is with a weapon, they continue pursuing the theory that he's a hired gun. Detectives show the recovered gun to their informant, who confirms that this is in fact the murder weapon. With no obvious ties to organized crime, investigators are beginning to wonder if perhaps Lambert is telling the truth. Did he act alone, or is he lying to cover up a bigger conspiracy? On March 3rd, one day after Lambert is taken into police custody, the National Police Chief arrives in Pattaya to put pressure on local police.
This double homicide has been in the news cycle for over a week. Not only has it painted Pattaya as a sin city, but it has now spread over into the fact that Thailand in general is that, and this is spreading around the world slowly. The police chief wants this wrapped up ASAP because he does not want the bad news coming back on that country. Police work is like Medusa. There's many snakes on the head, and one of them will turn you to stone. What you have to be aware of is to do your job, catch the criminal, but don't let it damage the place you live and have to work. So you're constantly being aware of the one thing that's going to ruin you. And in this case, ruining the reputation of a very popular tourist area could reduce the police force to a shadow of his former self. So you have to be aware of everything. There's like many tentacles on this beast.
He wants to make an example of this case, and having Lambert isn't enough. He also wants Lambert's accomplices, anyone who had anything to do with this crime.
With pressure coming down from the national level, police turn the screws on Lambert in an effort to find the murder weapon.
He's already confessed to murder in the hopes of receiving some leniency, and fears that unless he cooperates fully, it could make things worse for him. So he gives up the name of the friend he sold the gun to, a fellow named Tina Korn.
Investigators speak to Tina Korn, who at first denies buying the murder weapon, but police are in no mood to waste any more time.
Finally, he admits that he bought the gun, but he claims that Lambert was supposed to buy it back. When he doesn't, he's just claiming he's holding it for a friend. This is a story that police hear all the time. That's usually false. So what he does when Lambert doesn't buy the gun back is takes it and throws it in a nearby pond.
Police finally have the murder weapon that Tina Korn buys from Lambert and throws in the pond.
For his role in this, Lambert's friend will also be charged. The National Police Chief wants to make an example of anyone who was involved in this crime and will punish them to the full extent of the law.
Tina Korn is brought in and questioned by police about his relationship to Lambert. He admits that Lambert is an amphetamine addict who often boasts of his unusual behavior and criminal activity while high on drugs, such as shooting at passing vehicles without reason.
If this is true, then it would demonstrate that Lambert has experience with firearms and is willing to use them indiscriminately.
Tina Korn is charged with unlawful possession of a deadly weapon. Police make a third arrest in the case, the owner of the motorcycle, Monthol Bunmi. They charge him with withholding information about the murder.
The National Police Chief isn't joking when he says that anyone connected to Lambert is going down.
On March 4th, police take Lambert back to the scene of the crime to reenact the shooting.
It's a media circus, and there are all kinds of members of the press along with 100 police officers. Though it is a common practice here to have suspects reenact their crimes to see if the details match up, the sheer amount of press and police here show just how high profile this case is.
He acts out the crime over and over, demonstrating what he did. It takes over an hour to do the demonstration, even though it took a matter of seconds to commit the crime.
Afterwards, the press interviews several individuals involved in the case, including the National Police Chief, who confesses that while some progress is made in arresting the culprit, he remains unsatisfied. The profile of the confessed crime does not seem to fit, raising the possibility of other motives and more culprits.
When they interview Lamlert, he tells them that he was intoxicated, then got startled and shot the woman while trying to rob them. He denies any allegations that he was hired to do it and says he has no prior connection to the women.
In the days following, General Piriapino expresses his skepticism about Lamlert's confession, stating that it could be seen from the reenactment that he was skilled with a firearm. He shot like a gunman without touching the victim's belongings. It contradicted his confession. The general wants investigators to dig further.
Investigators continue to press Lamlert for who hired him, who was behind these killings. But he insists he was just walking along the beach and shot these two girls and will say nothing more about it. His excuse is that if this was a contract killing, he would have had someone drive the bike for him to help him get away. Again, that's a pretty feeble excuse, so in my opinion, he's protecting someone.
In spite of their best efforts, investigators are unable to find anything linking Lamlert to organized crime. The case goes to trial with Lamlert as the only defendant.
On September 3, 2007, Lamlert is convicted on 6 counts, including murder with intent, covering up evidence, attempted robbery, and possession of a weapon in a public place. He is sentenced to death. Whether Lamlert acted alone or was hired to kill Tatiana and Liubov is still unknown. It may be impossible to ever know definitively what motivated the murders, but this hour becomes the strongest evidence in favor of Lamlert's confession. Finding the gun proves that at the very least, there is some truth in his telling of the events.